Director, panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and ladies. You all look gorgeous tonight. The city of Tshwane, my cool capital city, is driving a program called Tepo 10,000, which was conceptualized initially by a man. Of course, the Honorable Executive Mayor Hosiya Nzola-Makgoba. This program is about attracting 10,000 unemployed youth in the city to upskill them and put them into cooperatives. The important thing about this program, ladies, is that it's driven into implementation by 2 women. I think that our executive mayor knows something that other people don't know about women, that women do get things done.
So in preparation for this, I looked at some of the stats, and I guess part of me was hoping that we'd see improvement in the number of women in science, technology, and innovation. And actually, there's no improvement. It's declining. So as much as there's very low participation of women in innovation and technology, it's on the decline. And I started wondering, why is that so? Some of the reasons that are given, to why we're seeing this decline and this low participation, listen to them. So the first is social and cultural barriers. So to my panel, think about that. My understanding of that is that you're probably in a situation where there's expectations from the social sector that we're in. It's social learning, where as a woman you're expected to do certain things. Be a mother, help your kids with homework, come back from work at a certain time, be around, not be away for like a week or so, more a month. That's my understanding, so maybe it's that. The second is an infrastructural, and that I'd still like to challenge. I'm not sure what they mean there. The other one is education and occupational challenges. The fourth is role challenges. The fifth is behavioral or perception barriers. And where does the perception come from? From us as women? Does it come from those that we engage with? Have we learned some of these things? So those are some of the thoughts that I'd like all of us to ponder on as we have this conversation today.
I do think that a lot of our perceptions as women and what we decide to do with our lives is grounded a lot in the socialization that happens in the first sort of 20 years, which then becomes very difficult to change thereafter. But it's, for me, not that catastrophic, because it means that we as women in this room can change it today for our own daughters and children that we have.
Yes, I think entrepreneurship, and especially in the technology or innovation space, is a very long and a very hard journey. And I've met women along the way who've given up on the journey, and a lot of it is because of a lack of support, often from a personal perspective. A lot of women have given me feedback about either their husbands saying, no, I want you to look after the kids, or I need you to support my career, or I've had a lot of that type of feedback. So you need a support structure of some sort, close family, husband, friends, or incubators. That's just the perfect environment, but you do need the backing of family.
One of the things is lack of knowledge, plain lack of not knowing either where to start, or also, not knowing if there are support structures. But one of the things that is also very, very common is the fear of failure. Because you know how every time people will tell you do this, nobody has done this, how are you going to get there? So those are a couple of things that we see. And the other one, maybe just to go a little bit more than just a couple, is also the fact of impatience. Because with the youth especially, they want to do something now and they want to see it working tomorrow. And now they can't really wait and have to follow the processes.
If I was to go for an interview for the same position with the male counterpart and say they give me an offer of 100K, women would readily accept that offer for what it is, whereas a man's going to challenge it and say, no, this is what I'm worth. And also that's quite interesting, because then it says we need to be assertive in who we are, in our capabilities. as well?
For me, I felt that in my own business, I'd be able to create an environment where the things that mattered to me would be the things that mattered to the business. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you still have to sell to the rest of the market that has its own political influences and things. But it's so much more effective when you are in an environment where most of the time you're getting the support and the values that you believe in are supported in that business. So I think this is why I think entrepreneurship is often such a valuable avenue for women, because it is one of the best ways to allow you to create a space that actually works for you.
I was taught from little that fear is just the inability to get up again. So I was never afraid of failure, which is a big thing in South Africa, male and female. There's such a stigma attached in South Africa to failing.
And what we are teaching them, we are saying, do not go out there and saying, I'm going to open a business because I want to give people jobs. Because sometimes people, that's what they say. No, why did you open a business? No, I want to give people jobs. Or why do you want to have your own business? No, it's because I want to make money. We're saying, look into what is a problem that needs to be solved. Go do something that will close the gap. Because the minute you can identify there is a problem, there's a gap, and you find a way, how do I make sure that I am the one who's going to close the gap? Then you will be able to go a long way.
I think one of the problems is, and I know that some of the councils, science councils have said exactly that you've got a whole bunch of scientists and engineers innovating things that they hope will get to the market. And it is about identifying that gap first, then looking for the technology.
I think the largest area or space to solve that problem is through sort of the educational process, where entrepreneurship and this kind of innovative thinking has to be part of that.
And as the youth, I always say to young people, start immediately and keep your overheads to almost nothing. Really get the cheap cell phone, have no monthly overheads, because then you're not married to that career and that job. That owns you only because you need the money from it.
If I'm sitting here and I know that, okay, I can go out and tell this kid that, you know what is the difference between an invention and innovation, and I can do it with a very simple way. Why don't I just go and do it without waiting for somebody else?
I'm not sure I would have sustained that journey without the support, which came at critical moments, and along the way all the government organizations and mentors in the incubator and were absolutely invaluable. I stand here today truly saying without them I wouldn't be standing here today.
I think there were a couple of other entrepreneurs that I met who are not necessarily as well supported and as lucky as I was, but I can tell you that they had to dig far deeper than I did, and they were far more effective in growing their businesses because their focus and commitment was just unbeatable, and I look at them with envy.
So certain supports is not only in terms of money, but it's in terms of that building and nurturing and, you know, helping an individual grow and be able to realize the bigger picture rather than what I can have now, but you know, how far can it take me?
I do agree that young people and women do tend to focus on businesses that solve more than just the financial problem. And when you can develop solutions that meet local needs and appreciate that it has significant scale and potential, I find that space really exciting. The more you understand yourself, the more likely you are to be able to choose a business that works for you and make it happen.
If you've got the idea and you're passionate about it, nobody's going to make it work better than you. So even to champion it, to speak about it, to encourage it, to bash on government's door, whatever it is, to make it work. Internship works pretty well, so I can't imagine why a gap year couldn't work. Our company's taken interns in, and it's a very valuable process.
From personal experience, I think in our education system, kids need to, when they learn or when they are being taught at school, they need to know why are they learning. So basically, our education just needs to be able to say, if you are learning mathematics, why are you learning it? Where can you use it?
If it's in here, you'll do it. You will. And irrespective of what it is, and as you mentioned, is that whatever it is, if you're passionate about it, if you feel strongly about it, don't wait for government, don't wait for another entrepreneur, don't wait for a company to employ you, do it. So if you want to motivate a young person and teach them finance, teach them a balance sheet, do that. If you want to foster social entrepreneurship, go ahead, do that. Go to the communities, talk to them, find out what they're doing, try link them up with people in your network. The GAP program, start it, talk to institutions such as ourselves. The Innovation Hub is very open to SME development, particularly incubation of SMEs.
We, as the City of Tshwane, started this department called Research and Innovation about a year ago. And I don't think at the time we had a complete appreciation and understanding of what innovation is all about.
From the Department of Science and Technology, as you know that we are a policy department, we don't engage with the public in terms of offering service delivery. But our role is to support other government departments to deliver on their mandates by supporting them through research, development, and innovation, whether it's technology or it's in terms of doing research to understand the communities that they are offering solutions to. We sort of address unemployment in a different way, but we also sort of work with private sector, and we normally implement projects around the universities nationally, and also try and encourage them to work with communities and introduce programs that address job creation as well as unemployment.
There is a greater focus by government on vocational training now. We know that with the closing down of teacher training colleges, for example, those kids are having to go to places like UJ, like WITS, again, to pursue teaching degrees. So we need to start to consider the reopening of those particular targeted institutions that would allow these kids to go and get targeted training for their areas of interest. What we need to start to consider there is the kind of education and training system we have in place that will allow us to continue to thrive in terms of the 18 to 35 economically active population. Because if we don't, we end up with a situation such as KZN that has an aging population, therefore little contribution towards economic activity. This is where the institutions start to come in and need to partner with business, with labor. Educational institutions are still so historically challenged, unfortunately. We are not considering what are the jobs of the future? What do we need to prepare our graduates for into the future? What are the new degrees we need to introduce? Educational institutions are not working hand in hand with schools. They need to understand what is being done and how can they advise schools as well as the Department of Education on how we start to change the curricula that is being offered at schools to assist kids in making that huge jump into the university and then into the world of work. We have a database that's housed by the Gauteng City Region Academy of unemployed graduates that are then moved into departments so that they get a year's experience, and a lot of interns are then taken on permanently into government so that they can continue with their careers.
What I would really love to see, which I think is a big gap, is support for teachers, because those teachers are so demoralized, and that can only lead to worse things happening. So that would be my only comment regarding the issue of unemployment, support for teachers.
When we launched the TEPO 10,000 program, which is targeting 10,000 unemployed youth in Tshwane, we were conscious that we're probably going to get over 100,000 applications for these opportunities. And we've taken a conscious decision that we know they're probably not going to succeed the first time. Therefore, we need to increase our appetite for risk. We are going to give them an opportunity, and we will get them to a point where they can get it right so that they're able to run on their own. Secondly, we said we need partners on board, obviously, because we can't do this thing on our own. We don't have the financial expertise. I mean, we just have a small department that looks after our finances. Therefore, we need to get financial institutions on board. We dictate the number that they must take on their project. So those are some of the things that we are doing in the city to deal with the challenge of unemployment.
in terms of people who just graduated, we have an internship program where every year we recruit students in different fields of science, and they are placed at our science councils, the different science councils. And what we also drive as the department is to build partnerships with other countries that are strong in science and technology, like Germany, especially in Europe. We have a specific program with Europe. And that's where we then have incentives for our researchers to collaborate with international researchers. We work hand in hand with the Department of Basic Education, and at the end result of this research project is to come up with a model where we're able to take it to basic education and say, for us to introduce e-textbooks in schools and address sanitation and water challenges, this is the model, this is how much it will cost per school, and we would like you to adopt it as part of your policy as the Department of Basic Education. So that's the value that we add in the science system, and that also sort of shows that through technology you are able to address social challenges.
Small businesses need to step up in terms of things such as tax regulations. We seem to leave these conversations to big businesses, to JSE-listed companies that fight the cause, for example, of tax regulations, tax incentives. And I think that we have enough small businesses in this country to collaborate, to work together, to step up and say, wait, hang on. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a small business. I don't have the HR departments. I don't have the in-house finance department and tax consultant. Why can't I be given a particular leverage if I take on interns, if I take on kids who need this experience, this job experience? I'm creating jobs. Why can't you, for the first 2-3 years of my setup, give me a particular incentive in terms of taxation? But I think we also need to, and this is my experience with graduates on the whole, in that they really have big dreams, and big dreams are fantastic. They really are. But there also needs to be an understanding that amongst graduates and amongst kids that are coming out of university, that maybe their expectations are too high starting out, going into the world of work. And I think that one of the most important things that we need to understand is that in South Africa as a whole, we're chasing a moving target in terms of housing, infrastructure, and sanitation. We always hear about this housing backlog. If we consider a picture holistically, and at the rate at which people are moving in, where, as I said, Gauteng, for example, is bigger in square kilometer density of people compared to KZN. When you're having people moving constantly, so for example, hypothetically, we needed to deliver 2,000 houses last year. But actually, 8,000 people moved into the province. So how much more houses do we need to deliver? We now actually need to deliver 8,000 spaces for people, whether that's private housing or public housing. We need to cater for an extra 10,000 people and not 2,000 people. We are chasing a moving target. In terms of water, I think that we need to understand that we're a developing country. We take a developed first world country like the USA, where you cannot drink water out of a tap. So let's put things into perspective. I think that's very important when we're talking to audiences, to put things into perspective so that people do not live in fear and you go home tonight and you tell your children, no, turn off the tap. Now I need to spend money on bottled water. You know, I think we need to put things into perspective.
I think it boils down really to a lack of understanding of what innovation is, because there's a fine line between invention, improvement to invention, and innovation. I'll make an example. Currently, we have diagnostic tools for HIV. You can even now, from just one drop of blood, define or determine if a patient has HIV or not. Now, that has been invented. Innovation would take place then if a diagnostic tool were to be made that would then tell you if you are HIV negative or positive. If you are positive, what's the level of infection and how much genetic variability do you have in that blood? So that would be innovation.
We need more platforms for collaboration because we are never going to resolve the challenges facing us on our own. the public service doesn't have all the solutions. Business doesn't have all the solutions. Our people on the ground do not necessarily have all the solutions. However, if we can come together, we will be able to resolve probably 90% of the challenges that we are facing.
I believe that you have all been empowered and that you're ready to take on the world. I hope so. If you have an innovative idea and you are still idling, deciding whether to take it to market or not, this is the time. Take charge. In my language, ga gona kgomo ya boroko. Thank you very much.
And then last but not least, we'd just like to thank all the other panelists that were here tonight, all our speakers. And if you could just wander over to Sipati over there as I call your name. First of all, Ms. Rapelang Rabana. Dr. Margaret Nkosi. Ms. Karen Kraus. Dr. Patient. Ms. Nalini Naika. Last but not least, Ms. Janet Mwana. Mr. Kiswa. And then Sipati.